This is Dulce Maria Alavez, born on April 25th, 2014, in Bridgeton, New Jersey. Bridgeton is a fairly small community in the southern part of the state. It's very tight-knit and has around 25,000 people living in it. Dulce, a very beautiful little girl with beautiful big brown eyes, brown hair, and about 3 feet tall. This is her mother, Naoma Alavez Perez. She was very young when she had Dulce. Dulce was 5 years old at the time that she went missing. Naoma was 19 years old. She also had a son named Manuel, who was born 2 years after Dulce was born. So at the time that all this is happening, Manuel and Dulce actually lived with their grandparents in Bridgeton. Noema lived in an apartment nearby, and so when it comes to custody, her mom and her were sharing custody of both of the kids. All this is happening in September, right around the start of school. Dulce had just started kindergarten, a very exciting time. So it was September 16th. Dulce went to school that day like normal. That day, Noema picked up all the kids from school, and she also had her 8-year-old sister with her. It was a normal day of school. The kids were in a good mood and had a lot of energy. So she took them to a local gas station to get some ice cream and also got some lottery cards, and then she decided to take them to the park so they could kind of run off their energy. So they end up going to the Bridgeton City Park. They pulled up to the park and they parked near the basketball court. Dulce and her younger brother get out of the car. They're 3 and 5 at this time. They run over to the park by themselves to the playground. Noema stays in the car with her younger sister. I've seen some reports that say that they were doing homework, and some people have said that they were scratching off the lottery tickets. Either way, they stayed in the car, and Dulce and her younger brother, Manuel, ran to the park, which is about 30 yards away from where she parked. Now, she said that she could see the park, so she was watching them, but there has been a lot of criticism at her about her letting the kids leave the car by themselves. I personally feel like 3 and 5 is really young to let your kids run around in a public space unless you're right there with them. Just because, unfortunately, the world is not safe, and with everything I know, there's no way I would let my kids do that. And I'm sure she regrets it, so there's no point in, rubbing it in. But yeah, definitely has been some criticism. So Naoma said that she was able to see, other than a minute where she was not able to see. The only area that she could not see was the swing set, because there was a small hill that kind of blocked it, and when she's going to see them, as she just figured that meant the two of them were on the swings. But after those 10 minutes, she got a little concerned, and she and her sister decided to get out of the car and go check on the kids. As they were walking up the playground, they see Dulce's little brother Manuel crying, and his ice cream is on the ground. At first she thought that's why he was crying, that his ice cream had dropped. But then they realized that Dulce was nowhere around. Then they asked him, where is his sister? He pointed over at these buildings near the park. There are these two utility buildings that are used as storage to store different types of equipment to keep the park maintained, lawnmowers, sprinkler equipment. These buildings have a path near them that goes right to the street. There's kind of two ways to access the park, two paths. One from the way Naoma came in from in the car, and one that's over near the utility buildings. Looking all scary, and they're locked, but he said that she was playing around there. But the problem is, he's only 3 years old, and he's unable to fully form complete sentences and truly explain what happened. He just points. So they walk over to the buildings and start looking around to see if they can find her. She's calling her name. Dulce was nowhere to be found. Noema said that at first she tried not to panic, that she thought that Dulce was playing some type of game like hide and seek. So as far as other people at the park that day, Noema said that there was a man and his son leaving the park at the time that they arrived. But he was not there at the time that she went missing. And then there was also a group of a few girls playing basketball on the basketball court. The courts aren't right next to the park though, so they didn't have the greatest view of it. They're more close to the parking lot. So Noema was under the impression that they pretty much had the whole park to themselves. So she was super confused, but after some time went by and she could not find Dulce, she decided to call the police department. The police came out searching with the canine, but it wasn't until 10 p.m. they decided to put out the Amber Alert, which isn't super helpful going out that much later after someone has gone missing. That's why I say that Bridgeton dropped the ball. When Dulce went missing, she was wearing a yellow shirt with an elephant on it and black pants. Apparently, there was also reports of a Hispanic man being in the area. They actually included that in the Amber Alert. It was a Hispanic man who was pretty skinny, around 30 to 35 years old, had acne all over his face, black shirt, and a white baseball cap. Noema said that she was really worried and also confused because she felt like Dulce would have not run up to a stranger. She said that she had really drilled it into her not to talk to people she didn't know. Gave her the whole stranger danger spiel plenty of times. She said that her daughter was very cautious and that she wouldn't have just run up to some random stranger, and definitely would not have voluntarily left with someone. She had always told Dulce that if someone was abducting her or hurting her or anything like that, to just scream as loud as she can, and hopefully someone will help her. So that same day, a ton of strangers came out to help look for Dulce. The park was pretty big, over 1,000 acres, so there was quite a bit of land for people to search. And of course, they weren't just searching for Dulce. They're combing the grounds to see if they can find any clues. You know, a wrapper, a piece of gum, a cigarette butt, anything like that cops could track. September 18th, there was a vigil held at Bridgeton City Park to continue to help raise awareness. September 19th, the family pleaded to the public for help via media. They also announced a $20,000 reward. Bridgeton is two-thirds of a large population of undocumented immigrants. In this area, they decided to make it so that anyone who did come forward with information would be protected from being reported to ICE. But even after that, no one came forward with information, and there were really no leads for police to follow up on. Pretty much right off the bat, people in the community and people online were very suspicious of the whole situation and suspicious of Naoma. A lot of people found it suspicious that she would let her kids run off at such a young age. People also have been very critical of her emotions. You know, it's really hard to say with something like that. Of course, you really never want to judge someone on their emotions. Naoma has been accused of not showing enough emotions, that she doesn't seem panicked or sad or acting like how a mother should. Which, of course, there's no textbook of how someone is supposed to act. When someone goes missing, obviously, we all react to grief differently. And some people can go into shock when someone's missing, but her lack of emotions have definitely made people question her. And it is something you have to consider. I understand you can't determine guilt that way, but it definitely can be considered. I mean, there's a whole branch of FBI dedicated to behavior analysis for a reason. It is important, but I believe people too quickly have jumped on assuming that she somehow did it. Online, there has been a lot of talk about how she possibly sold her daughter into human trafficking or something like that. And of course, I have no idea if she could have done that. It does happen exactly like that though. I mean, it's a sick world. There have been people that have sold their children. Dr. Phil did an episode on this case. He interviewed and asked Naoma straight up if she knew who would want to take her, and she said no. He asked if she had any enemies, if there was anyone that would want to hurt her. And the only one that she could come up with was this guy who had pursued her. And she wasn't interested in him, turned him down, and that he was upset that she turned him down. But there's no other reason to believe it was him. There's no evidence, there's no information about him. So, take it for what you will. About Naoma eating pizza during one of the searches, because there's been many searches, and this is like the day after Dulce went missing. Someone just came up to her and they were like, "Are you eating pizza when your daughter is missing?" And I guess this is the first time that she had eaten in 24 hours since Dulce first went missing. She was probably really lightheaded, and at the same time she was 5 months pregnant. So she was just taking care of herself. I mean, I'm sure someone around her was like, "You need to eat." On September 20th, reward was raised to $25,000, and the next day, the 21st, it was raised to $35,000. When they were making the announcement about this, they actually had a bunch of Frozen dolls out and all her favorite toys. I guess she really loves Frozen. Several weeks passed and there were no signs of Dulce. No leads, no nothing. It was just poofed, vanished. October 9th, police came out with a sketch of this guy. They haven't been super clear about why they think it was this guy. I'm not sure if that's just off witnesses' statement or what, but here is the image. Also, on the same day, they ended up bringing up the reward up to $52,000 for any information on this guy. They also started putting up billboards up around the area to help spread awareness about the case. Eventually, November came, no sign, no leads, and the community had a vigil on November 16th. Let's talk about the theories. Noema believes that her daughter was taken by whoever was driving that red van. It's possible that someone was just lurking around in that area. Sadly, predators will hang out around parks where they know there's going to be kids and just watched. So maybe someone was just waiting, saw the kids, and decided to take their shot. A lot of people have brought up, well, why wouldn't they have taken both kids? Well, because it's harder to take two kids. But second of all, they could have specifically wanted a little girl. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, but it doesn't make sense for them to just take one, especially if it was just one person. I mean, there's report of a Hispanic man and black man there. So I'm not sure if there's actually two men or if there's just one person. But still, it wouldn't be hard to take two kids. But what's weird is they would have had to put their hands over their mouth or something. Or maybe they had something in their car that they were able to lure her into the car with quietly. But like I said earlier, her mom taught her to scream. If someone was doing something to her, them girls that were over at the basketball court and they couldn't hear anything. They didn't hear anyone screaming. It's unbelievable. Some people think that maybe she went with this person on her own free will. If it was someone that she knew, there was a theory that her biological father took her for a period of time. His name is Edgar Perez. Apparently, when Dulce was born, he wasn't very interested in being a dad, and actually didn't believe Dulce was his daughter. However, later on, he had decided that she looks like him. When Dulce was 1 or 2, he had expressed interest in possibly getting custody of her. But he never followed through, so he never had custody of her. But it wasn't something that they were fighting over. It's not like Noema was stopping him from getting custody or anything like that. Noema actually thought that he had been deported because he hadn't been in the picture for a while. But the FBI ended up finding him, following up and determining that he isn't involved. Of course, there is a theory that Noema has something to do with this, and these rumors are mostly fueled by her lack of emotion, like I said, especially after she went on Dr. Phil in December of 2009. She just got a lot of backlash about how flat she was emotionally. A lot of people think Noema seems very suspicious in this interview. At one point, police took 2 cell phones from Noema to search. I guess she had 2 phones. I don't know why. She must have been Big Willie. But they gave one of them back to her, which many people have said probably means that there's nothing suspicious on at least one of them. But don't know about that other phone. In January 2020, a video came out online by a psychic talking about Dulce. She said to specifically check the school that Dulce attended, the wooded area behind the school she went to. Buck Shooting Road School, and lots of people, including the police, came out to search. Nothing was found. In February of 2020, the reward went up to $75,000. That is where it stands today. Then in March of 2020, there was an interesting update. Really strange letters that referenced Dulce surfaced. They were sent to Ohio. Actually, it was 2 letters and a postcard. And they were sent to a public library and this racetrack area in Austintown. This is the eastern part of Ohio, very close to the Pennsylvania border. And the card says a couple different things, including look for Dulce Alavez, age 5, kidnapped from Bridgeton, New Jersey. Look website for story, photos, doctor, Phil, and it says 76 truck stop, dead end street, entrance, woods, please look into. The police actually took those letters seriously and searched in that area, and this is off Youngstown 76 Auto Truck Plaza on Interstate 80. I guess about 10 police officers went out there and they searched over 30 to 40 acres in that area. They even brought in dogs, drones. They used infrared technology to search, but unfortunately, again, nothing. The postcard was sent to the racetrack, and it actually had a return zip code from back in Mexico. But the rest of the return address was ineligible and also wasn't postmarked, but they do believe that it was delivered by the U.S. Postal Service. There was a letter sent to a library. This letter was like 2 pages. It was handwritten, and strangely enough, it was actually postmarked from Cleveland. Cleveland is about 70 miles away from Austin. To now, the letters are not public, so the content of them are not out there. But apparently, most of it, they were able to decipher some of the words, such as Alaska-Mexico border, 1776, Civil War, New England town, and kids' home orphanages. After these first 2 letters were found, a 3rd letter came in. It was actually discovered in a mailbox of an ice cream shop in Wethersfield Township, which is a few miles away from the library. And the casino in Austintown, the owner of the shop down there thought it was really strange and took it into the police. Now, all 3 of these letters were handwritten, and it seemed to be written by the same person, but as far as what has been released to the public, nothing is really coming out of these letters. Back in May, law enforcement did say that the FBI is trying to get a hold of Dulce's father again. I'm not sure why they were doing that, or even if they have. I haven't been able to find any more information on that as of now. Once I know, I promise to let you know as well. Check out the Justice for Dulce group on the link below. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell, like that you are sure to be notified. And also be sure to subscribe to the newsletter on the link below.